So I got to ask you first and foremost, what the hell's going on? I mean, I found three people right now, Bo, three people out there in the market. There's the three I found. Number one, panic. Can't talk to them, won't talk to them, can't listen to you. They just don't touch them. Number two, petrified, right? Not sure what to do. Deer in the headlights. That's what they are. And number three, proactive. Okay, got it, get it, deal with it. Let's move forward. So what are you seeing out there? Because I know you're the third. So what are you seeing out there? I mean, this is your third cycle? Is that right?
Yeah, third cycle. Third scare, whatever you want to call it. Third, oh my God, what's happening, period.
What do you advise? You're a top-rated broker in your international company. What would you tell others out there that are just freaking out?
I think the vast majority of folks that you talk to, maybe not necessarily freaking out, but they're undecided. They don't understand what's going on. And so the natural reaction is, hey, let's chill, let's pause, let's see how this thing happens, blah, blah, blah. As a broker, we can't chill, right? If you're a good broker, you only have one response, which is to fight, not flight. And so I told you before this started, I prefer this thing not have happened, but I'm excited about just the opportunities right now. Again, I don't want this to happen, but I'm excited right now because for two reasons I was telling you. Number one, in periods of need, of scare, or whatever you want to call it, I have found that investors go to the best of the best brokers, right? They ain't playing around with their cousin who sold an apartment complex 2 years ago, but mostly sells houses, or their brother who has an accounting firm, but also has a real estate license and sells stuff every now and then. They're going to the best of the best. So if you're a seller and you bought at a pretty high basis, and come April 1 through 5, those rent payments aren't coming in like they should, and you're in trouble, you're going to call the best of the best, right? And so those previous 3, 4, 5, 10 years you've been building your name, hopefully, now is that moment where your calls could be blowing up, right? Because some guys could get in trouble, right? Ones with a high basis at least. And the other thing is I'm using this period where I'm knocking out a bunch of really cool market reports, stuff that I've been wanting to do forever and ever. And so I now have the time to do it and understand it and then put that information out there about how good the market still is, how many opportunities there still are out there. So I'm just having lots of phone calls, checking in on people, asking them, what are they seeing? What are they hearing? And just kind of almost being the psychologist, if you will. And I'm listening for opportunities. If someone needs to exit, I'm going to help with that. If someone's still doing good, I want to pass that good on to other people. I was talking to a group, a very large student housing owner in one of my markets. I was talking to him 3 days ago and I said, hey, what's going on? He said in their portfolio, somewhere between 30 and 40% of the students have gone home to kind of wait this thing out, which means 70% of the students have stayed and they're doing online classes. Of the 30 to 40% that have gone home, only about 10% of those parents so far have called and said, hey, not paying rent, or I need help on rent, or whatever. They're using sort of a 2, 3, 4-step process that is a reply email. And that has gotten rid of the vast majority of that 10%. Then if there's a few people who are still like, no, we're not paying rent, you're going to let us out, then there's a second email response that gets a little more in depth and then weeds out some more people. And then there's a third response. And so by the time they got down to 3 or 4, now this is a several thousand bed portfolio. They'd only had 2 students, which they may help. One of them was a full-time student who also is a waitress. So that's someone who you can help, right? They're paying for themselves. Their supply just got cut off. They can't work inside a restaurant. That's someone who you can help, right? But my point is that you just you got to look at case by case and run your business instead of taking a mass approach.
As a resource, you're calling these folks, you're helping them. Was that your idea? Were you the genesis of this email campaign for these apartment owners?
No, but I'm using that to help others. So as I'm having conversations with others, I'm saying, hey, listen, this is what one of the biggest in the business and the best in the business does. And I've had a number of these conversations, and every one of those conversations, my clients have said to me, or my customers have said to me, Jesus, that's a great idea. We're like our family is meeting and we're deciding how we're going to tackle this April period or this May period. And I'm having big companies call me and say, yeah, actually, we're kind of thinking about something like that. That's great. So anyway, it's helping all these guys. It's the ideas that they hear from these top brokers and sharing it with me. And I can do it in my market. And it's a phenomenal opportunity to pick up these great ideas from these other groups and sharing it with others.
Okay, so if you had to give me 2 or 3 words of advice for the brokers out there, whether it be leasing brokers, retail specific is I realize getting more impacted than anyone right now. What would you say as far as this cycle? A lot of folks, Beau, they've never been through a cycle before. Think about that. What words of wisdom would you tell those folks?
I would say the brokers who are in panic right now, I'm guessing this, but my primary thought is it's the brokers who spent all their damn money the last couple of years. And let's think about this, right? You're talking to a guy right now who, in a world of panic, I'm as cool as a mofo right now. And I don't say that to brag, but I have taken my commissions and I have built a war chest, right? So I have stuff in very conservative mutual funds and stocks. I've bought real estate along the way. My overall loan to value of everything I own is 48.5%. And I have a huge liquid cash fund so that it's kind of like a Dave Ramsey kind of mindset, right? Like you want to have that fund. I don't believe in 6 months. I believe in 12 to 18 months of just cash. Now, there's other stocks or various mutual at a loss, but it's still there and I'll survive this. But the brokers and everyone who's panicking aren't panicking because of the virus. They're panicking because they don't have enough savings, right? So number one thing, brokers, to learn moving forward is you need to be vigilant about putting away cash, because the brokers who have put away cash, they're not stressing about how the hell they're going to make their next nut. Right now, they're making tons of phone calls and driving up huge business. And so that funnel of brokers that was doing business could, if this thing lasts a long time, get like this. They could get very narrow to where there's only like 8 or 10 brokers in your niche that are doing all the business because they built a war chest. They feel cool. They're chill. They have the time to do other things and build the business. Number 2, I think it's a great time to focus on data, to focus on market reports and information to be able to transfer to your customers. And that could be what stuff has been closing for. It could be what rents are doing. It could be what supply is available that hasn't sold in the last couple of years. It could be just all the things that is interesting information to take people's minds off of what's going on. And the third is just talking to as many customers as possible, learning the tips and tricks that they're doing to keep their rents coming in and to keep their costs down and sharing it with others. That alleviates panic. It keeps people calm and cool, right? Like you just don't want people doing a lot of stupid decisions. And so, like I told you, I've lost 6 deals, at least, or I've had 5 of 6 deals paused and 1 of 6 deals chill. I still have 2 or 3 good-sized deals that are in place. They're healthy. I've turned in 2 offers in the last 48 hours, which is great. I'm already working on several others to be turning in offers now. The 2 I'm turning in offers on are distressed. I should say they aren't distressed yet, but they're feeling distressed. And so anyway, I'm excited to get off of this podcast to continue my phone calls. Like it's just nothing against you, but it's just a really cool period to be a resource that's kind of the chosen resource among the best.
Okay, let's talk about being the best. And so let's take a quick break. And we come back, we're going to talk about the 15 principles that Beau applies to be an absolute freak in the brokerage industry. So hold on, we'll be right back with the Massimo Show. Hey, this is Rod Santomassimo, and we always tell our coaching clients that knowing isn't doing. That's right, don't kid yourself. In fact, in my new book, Don't Kid Yourself, Knowing Isn't Doing, Build the Business and Life You Desire, I lay out many of our Massimo methods that we share with our clients to help them transform their lives. My new book, Knowing Isn't Doing, is going through a soft launch that will happen in March of 2020, and then a big national launch in September 2020. For more information, check out knowingisn'tdoing.com. Hey, this is Rod Santomassimo back with the one and only Beau Beery, super broker, super athlete, super person, but also a freak Beau, you have the 15 principles of really being a brokerage freak. So let's go through them really quickly, and I'm going to pick a couple and say, hey, give us more detail because I know your time is really valuable and you want to get back to making your phone calls. So go ahead. 1 to 15, shout them out. Go.
All right. Number 1, got to have a CRM. Number 2, got to have a coach, especially in these times. Number 3, you need to have the genetic fire to be the best at what you do. And I'll explain that later. Number 4, got to pick a specialty no matter what. Number 5, you need to be growing your business every day. 9 to 5 is a joke. You need to be thinking 24/7. Number 7, ferocious transparency with your clients. Number 8, prepare for the worst case scenarios in every deal you do. Number 9, the most important things are getting meetings. 2nd is phone calls. 3rd is emails. 4th is mailings. 5th is social media. Number 10, efficiency with your time. Number 11, hiring the right people. Number 12, building your personal brand. Number 13, removing all the time wasters and haters from your life. Number 14, your goal is 100 to 150 rank A customers. And number 15, your family is always first. At 15, Rod.
You are. You got, and I know you live by these principles because as long as we've known each other. So let's crack it down to a couple of people are going to take for granted. I think they take all these for granted, unfortunately. But let's go with a couple of them. You said CRM is, I don't know if these are priority or not, but I think family is number 1. But CRM, yeah, I got a CRM. Why does that make you a freaking awesome broker?
CRM is only as powerful as you make it. I mean, it is easily one of my top 3 or 5 most important things in my entire life. My CRM, I back up every single day in 3 different spots. If it was inside of my house and my house was burning down, I would save my CRM if I hadn't backed it up yet. Like, it is that important to me. Now, here's what I mean. Every phone call I get, I'm entering people into my CRM. Every mailing I do from my CRM. Every email I do, I can do by mail merge, and I can send individual emails addressed to that person by their first name through my CRM. Every single property in all of my markets are in my CRM, and I'm able to do stats and market reports as a result of that that'll blow your mind. I get so many compliments on my market reports because they're short. You can look at them in 15 seconds and know amazing things from them. Very little text, lots of graphics, but everything comes from my CRM. The difference between me or others who are high producers and everyone else is we enter everything in our CRM. I carry around a voice recorder if I'm driving a car, just because if I get a phone call in the car or whatever, like I want to be able to immediately voice in, hey, Rod Santomassimo called me, he told me this, and so I can safely put it in later on. If you think about every day in your life as brokers, we're so busy. There's so many calls coming in, so many emails that you get frantic and you just get all panicked. And so you got to have a system. So I'm either voicemailing something in, I'm emailing myself, or I'm writing on a notepad all this different stuff that's coming in so that at the end of the day, I make sure I go back and I'm entering in all this information. Everything's searchable.
Genetic fire, which I can see you have, but can you explain that a little more?
I'm not a scientist. I'm not a geneticist. I'm not in biology. But the way I explain it is if you're a parent and you've been on the soccer fields and there's 500 kids playing on 40 or 50 different fields. And of all those kids, there's always these 2, 3, 4, 5 kids. They're just so ferocious. They're so aggressive and they dive and they punch and they kick and they're just want to win so bad. And most parents are like, man, there's something wrong with that kid. This is my opinion. I don't know this. I don't think that you can teach that. I think you can get better. And I think coaching helps a lot of that. So a lot of those people are just genetic freaks. There's that certain genetic passion that I think you either have or you don't. And if you don't, I think you can get better, but it's difficult to compete against someone who just loves it and just lives for it, right? What I'm saying is push yourself beyond your means in that sort of that work period.
You said prepare for the worst case scenario. Some folks are thinking this is the worst case scenario that's going on right now.
Yeah. So, I mean, just even in the granular level, every deal I do, from the negotiation to the contract period to due diligence to closing, I'm always thinking about what can go wrong, right? So for instance, once we're in due diligence, if I'm selling an apartment complex that is even 5 parcels over from a gas station on a corner, I'm immediately thinking about, okay, could that gas have traveled through the groundwater all the way to apartment complex? And what's my plan B if that happens? And so I'm already thinking about, I'm talking to the seller about, gosh, what if this happens? What's your thought? Does the due diligence period need to change a little bit? It's almost my natural high anxiety person that I am. That's the level I go to, but I'm planning on B and C before it even happens. And I'm having these conversations, but it starts even at negotiations. Like what's the worst that can happen? I got to tell you, I couldn't have prepared for a virus happening. I mean, I think that Rod, if I were to ask as brokers, we get asked all the time, Beau, what could possibly slow down this market? Everything is so good. It's so amazing. And my response over and over again for years now has been, I don't know. Everyone's going to be renting, everyone under 35 years old. Every metric I look at, apartments are going to do well. So the only thing that I could ever come up with is another terrorist attack, like some massive terrorist attack. No one could have thought of this, but I'm in backup plan mode. Like, I'm trying to get into the psyche of an apartment owner, an apartment buyer. What am I thinking? I own 5,000 units right now, and I have B assets, and I've owned them for more. I'm probably okay. My base is probably low enough where I can lower rents. I can do concessions. I'm okay. If I bought C apartment complexes for $80,000 a unit that were selling for $50,000 a unit 5 years ago, and I've put in another $7,000 or $8,000 a unit in renovations, and I'm only 50% of the way through the renovations, I'm probably freaking scared about April 1 through 5, right? Those are the conversations I want to have with folks. If I'm a buyer who I know bought a lot of stuff that was a good buy and my basis is low, and I know these guys and what kind of a war chest they've built up in liquid cash, that's who I want to attach to. I don't want to attach to all the guys who bought lots of stuff at what I would deem to be a high basis. So the buyers I'm talking to are the guys who have big war chests, and the sellers I'm talking to are the guys who probably shouldn't have bought some of that stuff, who use a lot of syndication equity. Maybe they only had 5% of their own money in. They bought at high bases. They bought a lot of C- to maybe B- stuff at the highest clip ever and put a shitload of money in properties.
It's obvious that you know a shitload about your market, which is, of course, the key to this. So, Beau, we have a mutual friend, right? We do, and a gentleman out of New York named Bob Knackel, who's the top broker there as well. And he, just like you and you guys, it's amazing the traits you have of you don't depend on third-party information. You make your own information. You have integrated CRMs, you have teams, but you both have a coach. People are saying, no, I need to hoard my money right now. So what response would you give to that?
Dude, let me tell you, man, like I'm so thankful to have a coach through this period, because the number one thing that's so valuable to me right now is that these coaches are talking to the top brokers in the world, right? Like Massimo coaches the top guys at CB Richard Ellis, Marcus and Millichap, Coldwell Banker Commercial, NAI, Colliers, all these guys. And those brokers are having conversations about what they're seeing, what they're hearing, and how they're capitalizing on it and how they're growing their business. And these coaches are then able to share those things with you and help you through your process as well. Now, they're not saying, hey, so-and-so, Beau Beery is doing this and, giving up any kind of trade secrets. But my point is that just like I'm having conversations about what other property owners are doing to prosper in this time, I'm sharing those with my other property owners so that collectively we can make through this. If I hear a good idea from a property owner about how they're staving off a renter not paying, I'm sharing that. And most of these coaches have been through 2, 3, and 4 periods like this, right? Like they know how to come out on top. And my coach was preparing me for this years ago to build the war chest and to have cash and to not go buy 3 Ferraris and on some incredible mansion somewhere, right? Like I didn't do all that.
Let me ask you one more question. Another commonality of you and Bob, which is very unique. Bob, like you, shares everything. I mean, you talk about transparency in your list. I wrote that down.
Man.
But why the hell would you share your secrets, quote unquote, with the brokerage community? Bob does it as well. Why do you do it?
So I have a life coach too, right? And so a life coach is someone who kind of helps me more with sort of family and friends and love and why are we all here? And also it helps me a little bit in my business. The one thing my life coach told me, exactly what you're asking me, is that I have found that 99.99% of the people I could tell this to will never do what I'm telling them. I see it in my own business. A lot of my own agents, people who I've talked to, I could tell them, and we just talked about CRM and coaching, all these things. People are still not going to do it to the level at which you have to do it in order to be a freak, right? And so there's just very few people who execute on exactly the playbook of how to be a freak. And I don't know why it is. Some people think they just can't do it. Some people think that maybe only that guy can do it, or people think that maybe they could do it better. What they do is they manufacture excuses in their head why to prosper your business can't work or won't work for them. And so I have no problem at all. I do it because I really do want to improve their business. There's a certain satisfaction I get for the few who call me a year later and say, hey, Beau, man, I did that. I can't thank you enough. That's very rewarding to me and valuable. Even if it's a competitor in my market, I don't care. There's plenty of business to go around. There really is.
Yeah, as we know, we consistently say at the Massimo Group is knowing isn't doing. So it was great. And guys, and that's how we're going to wrap this up. Beau shared so much knowledge with you today. But you know what? Regardless if it's a pandemic or the market's thriving, it just doesn't matter, because unless you act and do, it isn't going to change. Nothing's going to happen. So, Beau, I can't thank you enough. I know how valuable your time is. So I just want to say thank you again for your trust, your business, but more than your friendship and your leadership amongst everything else and what you do. So thank you, Beau, for sharing today.
Yeah, man, it was awesome. Thank you.
Until next time, this is Rod Santomassimo with the Massimo Show. Let's move forward. Take care. I want to thank you for listening to this version of the Massimo Show. And please, please go out and share this with your friends, your colleagues. Heck, share it with your dog. Just share it. And more importantly, just give me some feedback, good, bad, or indifferent. We all grow from understanding what our audience wants to hear. So until next time, this is Rod Santomassimo with the Massimo Show. Hi, this is Rod Santomassimo, president and founder of the Massimo Group. And did you know that for over the past 11 plus years, we've worked with thousands of independent contractors, solopreneurs, and small business owners just like you in reaching their and/or their team's efforts so they can build the personal, professional practice they've always dreamed of. We provide coaching programs for all levels of experience, earnings, and yes, success. So if you're finally ready to get off that transaction treadmill and chasing deals that are growing nowhere and start building the personal, professional business and life consisting of greater wealth and more time, well, check us out at Massimo.coach. That's Massimo.coach.